G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and giving me the pleasure and the absolute privilege to talk about the greatest sport in the world, rugby. Pacific Nations Cup happened this weekend, the first round, Fiji versus Tonga. Oh boy, I was intrigued to say the least going to this game, wondering how these teams are going to perform. Obviously, Tonga pulled up that massive upset last week against the Wallaby team, right? And the Fijians obviously had a really stellar run in Super Rugby with a lot of the players bolstering the ranks from overseas. I was left wondering, how is this clash of the islands going to turn out? The physicality, how is this going to work? Are we going to see some fireworks? And sure enough, this game was unbelievably brutal, unbelievably physical. The game actually started really like in your typical Pacific Islanders style, right? Both teams seems like not knowing how to defend or whatever, and just let in a bunch of tries earlier half in the game, and then suddenly maybe the coach is sending down some words to the teams and say, "Hey guys, this is Test rugby, and better get your heads together." And suddenly the rugby, the level of rugby kicked into another gear. The second half, right? The second half of this match was like international tier 1 level rugby. Like both teams played beautiful kicking game. Both teams played beautiful set piece and squeezed each other on the weak areas of the other teams and really, defended with heart, defended with just ferocity. And I was blown away how good these two teams were. A lot of times, these teams, especially when they haven't been playing all year, they kind of been scrambled together in short-term notice, tend to be a bit clunky, but both teams are much more polished than what we're normally used to. Obviously, going into the Rugby World Cup, and man, I was really entertained watching this game, to say the least. Obviously, going to this game, the big name that was left out for the Tongans is Israel Folau. So the Tongans, Todai Kefu, the head coach, has come out and spoken about this prior leading to this game, that he wanted to try different players, different positions, and wanted to see if people can take up the mantle that Israel Folau brings to the team. Last week against the Wallaby team, he was quite good in the first half. Tongans had that issue where they almost had a little fitness issue going to the second half against the Wallabies. There's still, I think both teams maybe have a little bit of a fitness work here and there. It does look like both teams have these periods of burst and then periods of low. It looks like the energy levels are not consistent. Maybe some training, maybe some dieting could help that. And also this was in Fiji, so it could be quite hot as well. So yeah, a number of different issues could be leading into this, but it does look like the fitness is something that both teams can definitely improve a little bit as well. So with Israel Folau left out of the team, Charles Piutau was left with the number 15 jersey for Tonga, and I did realize that he was quite good under the high ball as a fullback, but I did think that he was probably better at running the ball than kicking the ball, and I felt like that there was a try he set up. It gave me a bit of a glimpse that he could potentially be good outside center for Tonga, because the All Blacks are using basically a winger at outside center with Rieko Ioane, bringing that extra bit of speed in wider channels. And with the handling that Piutau showed in this game, I think he could be an outside center and leaving that 15 jersey back to Israel Folau. That could be something that I think Todd Kefu could consider. But I was very impressed by some of the playmaking that he did coming up into the attack line out of the 15 jersey. Both teams has pretty decent line out set pieces. Both teams had more tries. The Fijian had a penalty more try as well, which was very devastating against the Tongans. The scrummaging was quite even in the start, but at the end of the game, it did look like Tonga probably still has a bit of fitness issues. It did look like there was a lack of mental focus at the end. The line out and the scrum was going towards the Fiji towards the end of the game. Like I said, the kicking game was really like world class tier 1 nation. Very, very like meta kind of kicking game, like high balls from around the 50-meter mark, and then try to ping plays down inside their own 22. Once inside the opposition, once you recover the ball inside the opposition, between that 10-meter to the halfway mark. Once you recover the ball, both teams are looking to do this really high, world class kicking game for both teams. I was thinking that maybe they could try a bit more especially when you're inside your 50, try to be more of 50-22 instead of just going for this high loopy long ball. High loopy short balls that you try to recover. Something that the Springboks does a lot. I thought that 50-22 probably a better option, but that's just me talking shit out of my mouth. But yeah, with that kicking game, and then the defense in the second half was extremely well for both teams. The kicking, obviously, the kicking pressure was really, really high for both teams, with a lot of speedsters pressuring these kicks, and both teams were able to defuse and compete the breakdown with a lot of ferocity. I thought discipline was actually not too bad for both teams either. So there was no stats coming out of this game, so the stats isn't recorded for this game, at least not publicly, given to us. So I did think that the penalty count wasn't too bad for either teams. And this, it was actually, I thought it was actually quite decent for both teams overall. So with that being said, since we have no stats, let's go through some of the key plays of this game. And whilst I butcher everybody's name, I just want you to know that I'm sorry. Okay, if I butcher your name, I'm sorry. It is 100% my fault, and for not doing my job properly. But please forgive me. I'm pretty lazy. And so yes, the game starts actually quite ferocious, so obviously the two island teams going ahead. The game started. Okay, the game started with the battle between Sipritao and the Fimby, right? The two teams lined up and just went ahead at each other at the same time. So nowadays there's a bit of respect going on with teams where they will let one team do their haka first, do their war dance first, and then respond. The other team will respond. But these two teams, they don't care. There's no such thing as let the other team do their haka first. They both just went at it at the same time, and it was absolutely awesome to see. I still remember in the Rugby World Cup, like the most famous haka battles was Tonga versus New Zealand. It was so good, and this kind of brought a bit of nostalgia for me when I see both teams kind of just went ahead with the hakas, with the Fimby and the Super Tower going off at the same time. That was really, really awesome. I was already getting my money worth when that happened. And then obviously the game started off with a lot of momentum going to Fijian side. This is a Fijian home team feeding off the crowd. Fijian was just really fluid, and it was just looking really good. A lot of options. The handling was fluid. Everything was really good. Got inside the Tongans 5-meter line. Few penalties. Few kind of ball kind of went out of sideline but eventually Fijians was able to get like a 5-meter line out. They go for the line out, they go for the maul. The Tongan sacks the maul, and the referee, Paul Williams of New Zealand, said, "Hey, I want to score a try. I want to be the first try scorer of this game." And he issues a penalty try in the first maul 5 minutes into the game. And that was, there was no warning whatsoever. The camera angles was a little bit hard to see what exactly, but it looked like somebody had collapsed the maul. But I assumed it was one of the Tongan number 5, I think it was, pulled the maul on top of himself over the try line to hold the ball up. So yeah, it was immediately penalty try, and Paul Williams scores 7 points for Fiji 5 minutes into the game. And then with the play in the bin, the Fijians was already looking quite good at the start. The fluid attack just kept on coming. 7 minutes into the game, Naya Savelu. So this was, again, just a really beautiful backline setup of Fijians. Just everybody, pretty much everybody in the backline touched the ball. Everybody had was drawing a defender. There was quite a couple of ball behind to the players behind. And then eventually went to Naya Savelu at the center position. He just takes the ball, straightens up his running line, steps through. I think he did a little step as well. Just punched through the defensive line, and suddenly the Tongans, the drifting Tongan defense, was just not able to adjust to this quick change in running line from the big center. He was massive. It was absolutely massive. He looked like a lock. He looked like probably not even a lock. He looked like a really big flanker, right? Just runs straight through and goes in for the first try. actual first try for Fijians, 12 points to nil. The conversion was missed. And then immediately, a few minutes later, on the 11th minute, there was another beautiful set piece from Fiji. Set the ball up, goes for the maul, and then Sam Matavesi gets the ball down this time. And Paul, making sure that Paul Williams didn't score another try. Tonga kind of just not really wanted to do anything crazy. Kind of just let the one through. And this was looking really bad at this point. It was looking like it's going to be a blowout. Tonga hardly had the ball at all. Finally, they got the yellow card back onto the field. And it was just looking really, really bad start for the Tonga, to say the least. But as soon as the Tongans got their players onto the field, it was almost like everybody was saving their energy for him to return. 60 minutes into the game, Tonga gets a penalty. They go for the maul, showing the Fijians they can do exactly the same thing as they can. Goes to the maul, and then Siua Miley goes in for the first try. And then the goal kicker did miss this conversion. His name is Mausia misses the penalty conversion. So 19 points to fight. So Tonga gets himself back a little bit, right? And you're thinking to yourself, okay, Tonga fights back, with the play off the bench. Maybe the Fijians taking a bit of a mental break here. No, the Tongans just kept on pushing. And it was immediately the Fijians just completely switched off. And then Tonga just completely taking the ascendancy back. And then they were just riding on the high. 20 minutes into the game, again, Tonga was just really quick, fast balls. The attacking style is quite different from the Fijian style. The Tongans placed more of a crash ball, a pod crash ball. So they would just do a quick short ball and then crash ball, quick short ball, crash ball, and then they would try to get the four pack to recycle the ball quickly and try to get that momentum going. Something similar to the Irish style, whereas the Fijians likes to spread ball out wide a bit, tries to shift the ball out and try to find gaps, open up gaps at center field, trying to open up the width of the field, whereas the Tongans just like to run straight at you. This is the reason why they call them the Tongan step. They just run straight at you, right? And the Samoan step, actually. Let's call it the Tongan step today. So and then sure enough, they got really close to Charlie with a lot of momentum. And then the big man, Leva Fifita, picks and go, jumps over the try line immediately, and then gets a second try on the ball for the Tongans at 20 minutes into the game. They do get the conversion this time, 19 points to 12. 26 minutes into the game, Tonga with more momentum, starting to lose a little bit of steam, gets a penalty. They opt to kick the penalty, 3 points, and then immediately 15 unanswered points for the Tongans, 19 points to 15. Back, get the momentum back. The game kind of stout, drawn out a little bit. Both teams kind of tightened up a little bit. It looked like maybe the fatigue is a little bit of a factor here as well. Both teams kind of going back and forth a bit. No one was able to score all the way until about a 40-minute mark. Joshua Tui Suva, again, just the Fijians likes to use that width of the field, just really stretching the defense wide, and then use their big centers to just straighten up the running line. And it worked once again this time. The big number 12 straightens up his run line, and he got the ball, did a bit of dummy as well, just whoop, dummy straight through, step straight through, scores on the dot on the 40-minute mark just before halftime, 26 points to 15 for at halftime for the Fijians. The second half starts, Tongans came out really, probably had a bit of a mouthful from Todai Kefu, and then came out and just really fired up in the second half immediately. Around 7 minutes into the game, Tongans was having a more, front full ball a little as well early in the second half. They get inside the Fijian 22, and then they have Pietau moving up into the attack line, and Pietau gets the ball, like I said, in that outside center position. He runs into the defensive line, just nice little ball over the top, and then to Kieran Tau Moe-Falau on the wing, goes nice open gap, goes in for the first try in the second half for the Tongans. 26 points to 20. They do miss this penalty goal, and then after this try was scored, both teams was playing a very, very high test level rugby, and just very well defended. A lot of kicking game, a lot of high pressure ball, and then both teams was able to defend that quite well. There was a little bit of handling errors for both teams as well. Obviously, the fatigue starts to kick in, and then the intensity was just way too high for both teams to carry on for the whole duration, and there was a bit of a handling errors, and then the polish was the polish of the both teams can work on, can be improved a bit, and then eventually it was two I don't know what you might call it, maybe two elephants or maybe two rhinos butting heads. Eventually, one of them got a bit too tired, and that was the Tongan side. The ferocity, the tempo was just way too much for the keep up. Eventually, leading to Fijians getting themselves. The Fijians first had a penalty, 68 minutes. They kicked that, extended the lead 29-20, and just before full time, there was a penalty for the Fijians. They go for the scrum, just 5 meters short from the try line, and then the big Fijian forward pack just scrums through the Tongan pack. The fatigue was just way too much for the Tongans to handle. Scrum straight through, puts the ball down, and finishes the game 36 points to 20 to the Fijians. Man, that was I'm really worried for the Wallabies in the Rugby World Cup. This Fijian team is absolutely looking incredible. The attack line from the Fijian team looks better than the Wallabies right now. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm really concerning. And also this Tongan team going against the Springboks, going against like the style the Tongans play is actually very similar to the Irish style. And they have Ireland in the Rugby World Cup same pool. So how that's gonna go, I don't know. Is the physicality just gonna be too much for the Irish? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. But this Rugby World Cup will have one of the best, craziest pool stage ever. Okay, ever. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next week, maybe. I don't know. Yes, next week for the news. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Cheers.